And we're live. Hello, everybody. Today is April 9th, and today we're not going to be doing YouTube anymore because, well, YouTube sucks. They, I think you've all heard me complain about the new interface, the Stream Beta, the Streamlabs thing that YouTube is trying to do, where they changed the Creator Studio to some new thing that's currently in beta. And spoiler alert, it sucks.
Yeah,
So, yeah, but anyways, today we're joined by a special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Which one of us is the special guest?
Uh,
you-
Depends.
I think he's calling you special.
Oh, great. Hi, I'm Tanner Kraus, Hoppian Libertarian, friend of Esso, and to a lesser extent, Filthy Heretic.
Yeah, honestly, we don't speak that much.
No, I don't, but I've collabed with Esso a few times, and I like to meme with Filthy Heretic about Hoppianism.
Yeah. And you also are a connoisseur of usernames.
Yeah, and I change my username about every 6 months or so.
I think he means 30 seconds, but we'll just let
yeah,
that
it's
one
fucking.
slide.
It is not 6 months. It's like every couple of days or so you change your username. I mean,
On
that's-
Discord, I do, yeah.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I would consider you my friend, but yeah, that's something you do which really fucking irritates me because it's not. It's not just that you change your username. It's always. It's not even the same naming convention. Like I have no idea it's even you half the time.
We have to check the Agora and look at your positioning to figure out which one's you.
Like, I changed my username a few times on YouTube, but I mean, I kept the same naming convention so people knew who I was.
Yeah, that's why I decided I'm just going to stick with this one from now on.
Supposedly. We'll see.
All right.
Give it
For the next 10 minutes.
for the next 10 minutes. So you'll have to reintroduce yourself when 10 minutes is up.
Throughout this live stream, I'm going to switch personalities. Later on, I'm going to be a anarcho-communist.
And
I
then what?
believe you.
Like, do you have, like, how far do your plans go? Do you plan on going anarcho-communist, then Rothbardian libertarian, and then going Burkean conservative, and then going
No, that's too much. I'll become like an Atomwaffen member, and like a hyper racist, and then later I'll become a social justice warrior.
oh, okay.
Nah, dude, you're gonna go communist, and then you're going to switch to Nazi and pretend there's a difference.
Yeah.
Damn.
How are we gonna? I was just about to say, how are we gonna tell the difference between the two?
We're not.
Um,
Also, I love this. I love how I have the stream like right in front of me. I have my desktop on the actual live stream, and there's just like this tunnel. It's
oh, you mean like when you're recording a tab and it sort of looks like there's an infinite number of tabs.
yes,
So in
Oh,
Nation
no.
Army.
yeah. So, in general, this is. I think that this. I think D Live is going to blow up simply because, well, I've said for years that PewDiePie has the capacity to destroy YouTube in one day. All he has to do.
All right.
All he has to do is stop hosting his videos on YouTube and use some other platform and tell people, his audience on YouTube, where he's going and why he's doing it. They will follow. And it's
That's
going to be,
exactly what he's doing.
which is exactly what
He,
he's doing. I mean, he said more specifically that he's not leaving YouTube. He's simply not streaming on YouTube. But still, imagine that only 1% of his viewers are interested in PewDiePie streaming. That is still 900,000 people.
Oh, it's I most of his fans are interested in his streaming content because most of his fans, they found his channel through like his reactions, and that's pretty much just what streaming is. With PewDiePie, he's playing games and they're watching his real-time reactions.
Well, yeah, that's how I originally found him. I subscribed to him when he was at 1 million subscribers.
But yeah, it's really good to create a page on DLive now because we'll be probably what I don't know how big of a site DLive is, but from the looks of it, I mean it's kind of like what Stream Me was before Mr. Medicare showed up on it before it got taken down again. DLive, the thing with DLive is it's not going anywhere because its network it's running on a blockchain network. So Dual Viewer operates as a node. There's no host server autonomously like that. So
Excellent. So, yeah, I mean, not only that, but as I was setting things up, I noticed that you can also host videos on it. So this might not just be an alternative to YouTube streaming, but it might be an alternative to YouTube. And we got our
yeah.
first
Oh, sweet.
and we got our first lemon, which for those of you who don't know, you can it's going to be like Twitch in that you can donate the internal currency to streamers you like. Lemon is like only a fraction of a cent, I think, but still very much appreciated. Thank you.
Oh, what? It's gonna blow up once more people are actually using the service.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be
That's
people like us who are gonna be following Pew's lead.
And that's the thing with platform-dependent currencies is that they actually blow up in value, proportionate to the amount of people that are using the platform. Because especially if they're sort of required to use the platform, or if they're key to a particular function of the platform, because people need them in order to actually do anything on the platform, in order to monetize their content, or to to do certain things. And a bunch of people are going to come because of PewDiePie. Those lemons are about to skyrocket in value.
Excellent.
But
So yeah, we wanted to start because you wanted to have a chat with Tanner.
yeah, because I figured that Tanner did. I mean, he uploaded a video response to my video on the culture war about a month ago or so. He made it sound as if he wanted my response, but I'm planning on doing like a couple of different responses in one video to people who made replies to made about nationalism and the culture war. But yeah, I figured that we could about this here as well, because I'll be completely fair. There is a point which I don't think that I hammered home as much as I would have liked to, looking back on my video, which is that a lot of the cultural problems, or which people do, like the Chads and the Stacys, the degenerate behavior, I think we all can agree society is declining as a result of. This is manufactured by the state. Which I was gonna make in the video, but I went back and watched it and realized I mentioned it very coyly, but I barely touched. I hardly went into any detail about it. At Europe, if you look at what's going on in Europe right now, those particular migrant groups, they essentially have the exact same legal status as police officers in the United States do. Let's take Sweden, for example, because you mentioned Sweden in the video. A African or Middle Eastern immigrant in Sweden, you will be given $3,000 a month in a welfare payment if you're single, and up to $4,300 a month if you have a kid. they don't apply the government's legal code equally to everybody. They won't do anything if one of these people commits a crime that, according to the Swedish government, is in one of these groups.
Yay, protected classes. But you see something very similar in the United States. I don't remember what the exact details are off the top of my head, but you can receive welfare payments in excess, or you can receive greater welfare payments for being a single parent than being a married parent. It has nothing to do with income, and therefore the state financially incentivizes people to not be married, even though
Oh, yeah. And in certain eating you. Fuck you.
Oh, and by the way, there is one other thing I wanted to point out about being on D Live instead of YouTube, and that is that we can say nigger without worrying about being demonetized.
The
Oh
glove
man, that's based.
I know.
Oh no, he said the N-word.
Miss Obama, get down!
Server. There's no host server, so you know what that means. Mrs. Obama, get down.
I hate myself for agreeing with what you said, because I was really hoping that this would turn into some like dramatic shit. But no, I agree with that. And Hoppe has a speech on this that he defines degeneracy as any fringe activity or lifestyle that probably wouldn't exist without the state to financially support it. Basically, the state can't benefit off of self-sufficient people. So if you have a family, or one parent is raising children and the other parent is making money, and they have this sort of structure where the children are homeschooled, you don't need public education, maybe even you work at a local store, you don't have to work a government job. The government really can't profit off of you the way that they can profit off of a single mother, because once they have a single mother taking welfare, they pretty much have her and the child for life in a cycle of poverty. Once you're on welfare, it's very hard to get off of it. Whereas self-sufficient people don't need the state to get by. And I think that's why the state has been trying so hard since the 1960s, the late 1960s, to destroy the traditional nuclear family and destroy traditional culture.
And that's, that's a fair enough point, but it's essentially what I was arguing. I'm not arguing, oh, well, culture doesn't matter. No, I'm arguing, what my point is that without a state, you wouldn't even have these problems. Why? Well, I mean, think about it. If these people weren't receiving any of these welfare payments, and they weren't essentially a legally privileged class of people that politicians aren't going to, they're going to directly tell their police departments not to do anything about, then yeah, that sort of lifestyle couldn't exist. Not because, I mean, for it would be not, fuck, I'm super tired right now, I'm sorry, but
It's all right.
that sort of lifestyle couldn't exist because it would be impossible to sustain it.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I was talking about neural networks and observing how behavior and cultural trends change with environment, and that's again a great example of that being the case. Idea that this is about the concept of group preference and any sort of marginal utility or social utility, that is that is a statist concept, and it's a statist construct. And what it's designed to do is it's designed to give people essentially a boogeyman, an enemy, and it's designed to make people think, oh, well, without a state, without a centralized body enforcing some sort of monopolistic legal code, this is a problem you wouldn't be able to get rid of. And that's the reason why you have so many of these immigration crises that are being financed by the state. And I mean, I'm sure you saw my video on the migrant caravan. I pointed out how that was subsidized to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Not too long ago, we did a segment on here where a CIA agent was caught trying to cross the border posing as a member of a Mexican drug cartel.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I remember during the Obama administration, it was several years ago, but there were ads being played in Honduras that were advertising the United States as a place to live. And
That's
telling them
fucking
that if they came in, that they would just yeah.
I can now. I love DT Live so much.
I think
Whoa, someone's roboting.
Yeah, that's easier.
Tanner, roboting like crazy.
wait, I am. So
You're
Oh,
fine
it's-
now.
Tanner is. I'm wrong.
wait, I am.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
Now you are
You're
anyway.
fucking.
Nig mode.
Where I agree with SO is that these problems are created by.
Tanner, you're roboting and you're so quiet. Nobody can hear you.
Sounds like you dropped your phone in the toilet.
Are you out? Are you on the stream outside walking on your and talking on your phone?
No, I'm in my room.
Oh, welcome back.
Well, it sound that's
Oh.
what it sounds like.
And now
Oh,
you
I don't know
sound
what that
like-
was.
Actually, it kind
sounds
of sounded
you fucking
like
dropped
Iso
it or
said.
something.
You threw your phone down a well, and then you were trying to talk into it from outside of that well.
Okay. Where I agree with SO is that this is a state construct. The state is behind it. The state's purposely even causing it. But where I disagree is that the culture war itself doesn't matter, because I don't think that without fighting in the culture war and engaging with the left, which is trying to emasculate young men and masculinize women and like just fuck up our whole social order, that we're ever going to achieve libertarianism. Because I don't think that you can sustain a libertarian society without a masculine society.
Well,
I don't think that.
with what's it called? With agorism, with counter economics and cryptocurrency, the means of exchange being so encrypted that a state cannot possibly continue to exist, that
And the-
it's ultimately not
clown-
going to matter how masculine or effeminate men are. I mean, this is one of the big problems I have with Hoppianism, in that that the confidence in how libertarianism would work is so low that it only works under these very specific circumstances that I believe in. Now, I mean, you could argue that a society where men are more masculine is preferable, and you know what? You're probably right. But ultimately, I think when you stop having the state subsidizing all of this garbage that's being forced down our throats through the mainstream media, and let's be honest, most movies, most music, most art right now is absolute garbage. Hell, I mean, has there been any breakout genres of music since the 90s?
No, I'm pretty sure it ended with grunge.
It ended with grunge, and it's so weird. Like there hasn't even been some kind of countercultural music scene. It kind of stopped at grunge, arguably punk. But
Yeah, and I think it's funny that we even live in a culture where the most anti-conformist people tend to be the most conformist.
the fucking problem with trying to make a movement around being anti-conformist. It's a self-contradictory idea, and the results show. Because yeah, if you're trying to conformist, well, I mean, creating a group with a certain style and a certain lingo and a certain set of principles behind it, that's the definition of conformity.
You talked to
I
me-
remember
you talked to
being
me and Neil.
anti-conformist. Oh,
Yeah, I'm just gonna make a mention. If I talk about myself a lot, I do apologize. But you meet me in real life, you talk to me, you wouldn't think I'm an anarchist at all. I am very clean shaven. I am very well spoken. I am very polite. I'm not the kind of person that anyone would imagine to be an anarchist, just in general.
well, that's because you're not an ANCOM.
Fair enough.
Fucking I'm wearing camo shorts, and I'm wearing a t-shirt with that's advertising for the band called Trapped. They did that song Headstrong.
Oh man, I love that album though.
Yeah, it's a good ass album. I saw them live in concert. That's where I got it.
Nice. Though I haven't heard of them. Here's the plan. Broadcast
If
a
you heard-
worldwide. I'm just reading from the
If you heard
chat
that
here.
song, if you heard that song, you would know who Trapped is, because that song was fucking everywhere.
Probably. But here's a funny comment I see in the chat. Here's the plan. Broadcast a worldwide advertisement for free fried chicken and watermelons in Africa. Then all the niggers will move.
Jesus Christ.
Who the fuck said that?
Marry the painting.
This was the George Lincoln Rockwell plan.
And yes, Esso, you do look like an anarchist.
I don't really try and look like anything. I just sort of throw shit on, and then I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I
But-
feel like this today. So
Yeah.
I get all my clothes from Academy, so I guess you can kind of assume what I look like.
I just buy random crap online, stuff that I think looks good. Mostly it's just t-shirts and jeans.
But anything more to say about that? It's just well, adding on to Filthy's point, I suppose. Well, I mean, we just went over cultural trends are influenced by the state, because that's the major factor in a state society which is influencing our environment. It's under a state, you have economic policy, which engineers an environment, market transactions and market trends, which are mostly unnatural. Like if you think that in an actual free market that a corporation could exist, that's ridiculous. But well, that's really all I had to say.
I just had a thought as well, adding on to my earlier point, and Tanner's point was that we need masculinity to return to maintain a status, or not a status, then a voluntarist society, a libertarian society. And my thinking is that isn't that just a hoop to jump through to achieve a libertarian society? I mean, I contend that we can just skip that step entirely and everything will be fine.
Like I was mentioning on the debate last night with Hoplu, I kind of agree. I think Hoppians, I mean, that's the one thing that I probably dislike about Hoppe the most, and his following is their extremely statist ideas for trying to achieve a libertarian society. It's not going to work. You can't achieve an ethical libertarian society by using coercive and force and statist means. That doesn't make any sense.
It's less it's less that we're trying to use statist means to achieve a libertarian social order, and it's more that we recognize that the left is using the state against us, and so while it still exists, we need to be able to use it against them, or we're just going to keep falling down this.
You rationalize it how you like, and for the record, there's no ideological motivation behind anything the state does except maybe for propaganda purposes. It has one motivation and one motivation only, which is to obtain more resources so that it can expand. Fundamentally, and that's all that it does. But anyway, rationalize it how you will. I mean, there's no real way of actually achieving a libertarian end through that mentality. I mean, you may as well just be sitting in the corner and naming things you like. I like rubber duckies and chicken tendies, and all my best friends are gonna hang out with me and join my club. I fucking doesn't mean anything, really.
And also, you're kind of making the argument. Like, I'm sorry, were you finished?
No, but I was just gonna say, I mean, yeah, agorists and counter economists, or whatever you want to call them, as far as I'm concerned, are the only ones who have a realistic vision and practical idea for how the state is going to be abolished.
I mean, I admire agorism, and I do think that it's a good long-term solution. But I believe that secessionism and nationalism as a way to combat globalization is a good way in the short term.
That's what agorism is. Agorism is secessionism, except it's at an individual level. It's on a demonstrable economic level, which also creates a framework that is separate from a centralized and statist structure. And on top of that, it doesn't require ideology. You can be the most fucking normie Democrat, and you can be a counter economist. It's because what motivates people to be counter-economists is not libertarianism and a desire to end the state. It's they want a better life for themselves, and in the process will become libertarians.
Well, yeah, that's true. Even.
And the point I was trying to make is that you can see this throughout history of all these revolutions, and they have all these flowery ideas, these wonderful plans that they're going to implement, and everything will just be perfect. But the means by which they attempt to do so are always foreshadowing of just the absolute horror and destitution that is going to follow in its wake. So my point I'm trying to make is that you're using statist means. Ultimately, you're going to result in statist ends. There's not going to be a way around that.
My man, are you implying that Robespierre did anything wrong ever? The second coming of Jesus Christ?
I thought the second coming of Jesus Christ was
The Antichrist?
No, I'm playing. The second coming of Jesus Christ was Pinochet. The third was Hoppe.
If Hoppe is the third coming of Jesus Christ, then fuck Jesus.
It's
Papa.
it's
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
it's Hoppe.
I'm gonna see how long I can hang that. I can keep that going.
Do it.
You have to take a deep breath first.
That's the
Just
plan.
believe in yourself.
Should I do it now?
No.
Your dreams.
Go ahead. Make
Okay.
me proud.
You make us lose all our viewers. Don't do that.
Okay.
I actually meant to make a response video to your why we need a state video, but I couldn't download it for some reason to actually edit it and make
You
the
have
video.
another YouTube channel?
Another? No, I've always had this YouTube channel.
You're about to reach.
Got rid of it.
You're about to reach 1,000 subscribers. So In other words, you're about to be considered somebody that we can take seriously.
Ironically, I used
Apologize,
to be
have more than
taken.
1,000?
I used to be taken more seriously, and I had fewer subscribers.
Not by me.
I was just taken more seriously by the wrong people.
And you were bedfellows with people like Twist. How the fuck do you even talk?
Twist.
That guy is fucking obnoxious.
Well, Twist used to be an ANCOM, and I was in the fucking mutualist / lefty pole scene. That's actually why I was relevant, is people were sharing my videos on Lefty Pole. And that's how I met Twist. And ever since, he became a Nazi, and now he's kind of he's a huge asshole.
Well,
Yeah, no shit.
So
That's
he
why I
didn't
don't
change
like
ideologies as much.
I mean,
He
something
kind
I
of
should be saying. Something I should
he
be saying
fucking
more
Thanos
often.
my server.
If one thing that I think we need to be saying more is that for what was I saying? That freedom is fundamentally a mindset. You become authoritarian, it shouldn't be surprised when that starts to reflect how you treat other people.
Well,
What do you mean by that? Oh, I see. Yeah, he became a fascist, and he started being an asshole to other people, especially minorities.
How do you go from ANCOM to Nazi, though? I'm curious. As to,
He became a Doridian, and his logic was, once you find out that culture and everything having to do with it is a spook, you basically either have two choices. So you can either become an egoist, or you can become a fascist.
once you once you accept any sort of class, the fundamental premise of Marxism, which is essentially the exact same premise of fascism, it's easy to see why so many Marxists and fascists change sides constantly.
I mean, even some of the most prominent leftist writers are seen as heroes in the early fascist movements, especially in Italy.
If you think that the so-called libertarian to alt-right pipeline was a trend, my God, how many fucking Marxists are formerly fascists, or how many fascists are formerly Marxists, or how many of them have switched in between certain positions within fascism or Marxism?
yeah, and Faithless Berserker makes a good point in the chat that Benito Mussolini was originally an editor for a socialist newspaper.
Yeah, he was originally a member of the Italian Socialist Party.
Well, also, he didn't see fascism as a rejection of socialism. He saw it as taking socialism to its rational conclusion.
Which, I mean, that's true. You take any form of authoritarianism to its logical conclusion, you're only going to end up at totalitarianism. Anything that is less than that is just cognitive dissonance.
And for the record, fascism it has the exact same problem socialism does too. No private speculation, no supply and demand curves. So
I mean, it's a very... Sorry.
Even if World War II did end in an Axis victory for Europe, it wouldn't have lasted much longer. It would have probably gone on like 10 or 20 years, and then whatever super state formed would have just collapsed.
Yeah, I don't think that Nazi Germany could have sustained itself for any longer than the Soviet Union did.
I haven't looked into it, but if I recall correctly, there was a CIA program to attack Nazi Germany through its economy. And I only know this because I remember reading a book about how the CIA collapsed, or not collapsed, they hastened the collapse of the Soviet Union, and all they did was exploit the financial weaknesses that the Soviet Union already had. And
yeah, that's... Oh, sorry.
And it just makes mention that the same people who did that were also involved in his previous operation in World War II.
Yeah, and that's what kind of pisses me off about those communists that say stuff like, "Well, the Soviet Union could have succeeded if the United States hadn't have done everything it could to destroy it. Like, all we did really was boycott some things, and like it was going to collapse."
Oh yeah, definitely.
Didn't the United States give the Soviet Union money too?
Well, during World War II, we did.
Yeah, there's basically
no.
a big problem.
I think what you're referring to is you're referring to American banking companies, right?
I'm not sure.
That's absolutely true. The Bolshevik Revolution was financed directly by some of the biggest players on Wall Street, particularly J.P. Morgan.
Yeah, what wonderful people.
and the Rothschilds as well. But yeah, so the same people who financed Nazi Germany and the same people who financed pretty much every other war created these organizations. They gave them the funds to create a new government, essentially.
Somebody in the Discord chat is trying to bring something to you guys' attention. It's in general.
Basically we're getting a warning from Douglas Terabyte, who's a guy helping us work on FNet. He's saying that DLive is a honeypot, which
Also,
I don't know the technicals. He could probably explain it better than I can, but from what I'm gathering here, and I'm just glancing over this real quick, that
Okay.
it's
Guys?
yeah, I'm reading it over real quick, so if I'm quiet, don't be alarmed.
Oh, okay. I thought Discord was having issues again.
No. Yeah, if he says that this is his quote here is, "Geez, this is the worst possible solution to distributed streaming." He mentions that the platform connects with Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch on their login page. They have a rather shady privacy policy in terms of service. And he's advising us to not do a stream on DLive and to cancel it right now.
oh yeah, he's saying it's controlled opposition.
Which it very well might be.
Oy vey.
We'll move the show to a different service then, probably.
Yeah.
Douglas, if you're listening, like that, you are fucking really bad about how you present information. You just you spam multiple different pages of stuff to read all at the same time, and you talk in sort of techno-babble word salad. It's very hard to it's very hard to listen to you. Like, I'm just for the record, problem talking with you by any means, but yeah, like half the time, like when you're talking, I'm just sort of tuning out because you're. I mean, I'm somebody who understands network protocol. In fact, I've been working on FNet, sort of on the side myself. But yeah, that's just, you can't have a conversation with somebody like that.
Yeah, it's hard to comment, but yeah,
anyway,
we'll have to find another. I think that there is some merit to what he's saying, since, well, again,
Yeah.
he has a screenshot of the login page, and you can clearly see that it connects with a bunch of with some of the Silicon Valley problems.
yeah,
And that's the whole point
we'll
of
look
us
for a
being
new
here.
we'll look for a new streaming platform. Probably not anytime recently, because yeah, there's no PewDiePie is not going to any other bigger distributed services, or ones which are actually distributed. So I guess we'll stay on YouTube for the time being. But anyway, So on to, I guess, one of the topics we were about to get into before that interruption. We talked about Harris Poll's 2019 survey of of the reputation of certain organizations in the United States.
So, explain what Harris Poll is real quick.
So Harris Poll is an organization set up by the Axio Harris Poll. It is annually has been ranking the reputations of the most visible companies and organizations in the United States, particularly. It has a sample size. This one has a sample size of 18,228 people, so it's
Pretty representative. And just for reference, most scientific surveys and most scientific sample sizes are going to be around 5,000. So this is a pretty good sample size.
And so what this study shows is that out of 100 different organizations on the 2019 reputation rankings, they're mainly corporations, but they also factored the United States government in this list. And it is the very bottom of the list. It's number 100 out of 100. It's the very one with 48.6% on the rankings.
48.6%.
Reputable.
All right. So the survey is going to be between reputable, not reputable, and not sure.
No, that's the very bottom one, but the highest is Wegmans at 83% reputable.
I don't think I've heard of them. That's probably why they got so high.
But there's something which I've been saying for the longest time. It's nice to see confirmation like this, but I mean, quite literally. I mean, the company, the organization closest to the U.S. government is Philip Morris, the cigarette conglomerate, and they have a 50, so it's 2 points under that. And just for some perspective, does not occur much on this list. Most of the variation between the companies is like 0.2. People trust Philip Morris a lot more than the U.S. government, apparently. And
Interesting.
nobody
The bar's pretty low.
should blame them. Nobody should blame them. But putting this, I guess, into some more perspective, is number 79 at 66.9%.
Which company again?
Walmart.
Oof.
ExxonMobil is 77. Group is 75.
Citigroup?
The banking company.
Yeah, I was just repeating because you cut out for a minute there.
Right. And Facebook is 94%, even with what happened this year. And yeah, that's another point to note, is that 3 notes next to some of these organizations, an arrow pointing up, signifying significant improvements, arrow pointing down, declines. And the U.S. government is not significantly declined or improved. Something which recently happened. No, this is just sort of the general trend, is that people hate the government more than any other organization.
And what's the approval rating of Congress now? It's got to be 10% by now.
Well, that's not taken into account here, but
I know, but I'm just adding on to the fact that dislike of government has become so blatantly obvious that even most normies recognize it, which is hilarious when you talk to them about voluntarism and they're just like, oh, but what about the roads? As though somehow this organization that I don't trust should still be ruling over them. Yeah, politicians lie, but I still want them to rule over me, because how else will we build a long, flat thing?
Well, I was actually just about to say that is that I don't think that we should get too optimistic, because these people that supposedly hate the government don't hate government. They just hate this government, and they want it replaced with something probably even bigger and worse and more tyrannical.
That's
And some people hate the government and don't even want that. You have conservatives saying it's a necessary evil.
Ooh.
people saying that something is a necessary evil is saying that evil is necessary,
Exactly.
which is
But this is what I've been saying, is that they don't like the government, and for good reason. I mean, they can't live their lives because of the government. I mean, human action is literally illegal in terms of actually trading. I mean, the classic example Konkin used is that you can't sell things at the same price that everybody else does, because that's considered conspiracy. Can't sell it at a higher price, that's monopolistic pricing. Can't sell it at a lower price because then you're undercutting the market.
Yep.
Basically you have to be a politically connected corporatist in order to be in the market, because the government is just selectively picking and choosing who is and is not allowed to produce in the legal markets. Oh, but yeah,
I just love
what were you gonna say?
I love getting my check every other week and just racking my brains trying to figure out when the IRS worked alongside me and earned 30% of my income.
Completely valid.
Oh, dude, yeah, tax day is coming up, and I'm thinking about maybe making a short video on that, because I don't know if I want to show my tax returns, but yeah, I'm fucking, like, the government is getting BTFO this year. Like, they're probably after this, they're probably just gonna stop trying to collect taxes from me, because because I'm taking so much money from them this year. Holy shit.
oh yeah.
IRS, open up.
No, I mean, like, through legal loopholes and taking advantage of like their own credit systems. I took like at least $5,000 from them this year.
Nice.
Damn. And that's just following the advice on your tax loopholes video?
Yeah.
Alright, well, I'll have to look at that again, because I want freaking 5,000.
Yeah, I'll see if I can blur out some of the specific information, and then I'll put it up on social media. I'll make a video on it.
One other thing.
But yeah, I'm not kidding. That's it's really simple. Like I was pointing out, it's sort of presented in the media as if tax cuts are a thing for rich people and they're unattainable. No, not really. It's actually super fucking easy to get tax credits and to find tax loopholes, because that's a fundamental problem with how the government has to collect taxes, is that they sort of assume that the money which they're collecting is legally in your name. Somehow manage to get the money that you've earned in any sort of state where they're not capable. Like, it appears as if you've spent it, or it appears as if you're no longer in possession of it, then you're not going to get taxed on it. Really that simple, and that's all you really need to know in order to do that.
And one other thing real quick, just the simplest thing you can do to not, or to save a vast amount of money on your taxes. You are not required to pay income taxes legally. All you have to do is just not sign the 1040 form. You sign the 1040 form, you are legally required to pay taxes. If you do not do so, you can. However, if you were required to sign a 1040 form as part of getting a job, which some employers do require it, you can appeal to the IRS, write them a letter, or otherwise get in contact with them, telling them that you were made to sign the 1040 form under duress, and you withdraw consent from it, which they are legally required to do. Just make sure you don't sorry, I wasn't finished. Make sure you don't come off as a tax protester or anything that they could otherwise just write off. Just say that you were not required to and you did not consent to it voluntarily.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Part of the reason why the state benefits so much from actually having like a small handful of companies producing, and that's why they aim to make that their goal, because then they can do shit like this where it's not legally required, but any place where you're going to be employed is going to require you to sign one. And if the companies in question don't require people to sign one, well, then they're going to get hit with an antitrust suit, or they're going to, they're going to be considered a high-risk client. The FTC is going to go after them, and then they're going to get probably sued for $200 million by the government for violating some obscure finance law.
Well, the only companies I know of that really can get away with this are like landscaping companies, and tree trimming companies, that kind of stuff. I don't know what the technicalities were, but I did work landscaping for 3 months, and I didn't have to pay income tax on that.
I think the thing is that there are so many landscaping companies, especially in the Northeast and just generally richer areas, that it's going to be like trying to the IRS to go after them is just going to be like trying to get a needle in a haystack. It's not even worth time and effort. And Faithless Berserker...
Most landscapers don't even have companies, so...
Yeah, and Faithless Berserker is asking if we're going to be using this streaming this service to stream in the future, and if we should delete our accounts. I'm gonna say don't delete your account unless you put personal information on there. And
I don't know about deleting the account, but I'm definitely not using it.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, we're not gonna be using this in the future.
Are you guys going to upload the stream on a different site then?
I'm probably just gonna upload it. I'm probably just gonna upload it to my YouTube channel, or at least my my live streaming channel. Which, by the way, I need to actually be more diligent about uploading my streams on there.
Is anyone posting this on YouTube, or is this only on?
I'm simultaneously recording while I'm streaming, so I'm gonna have the recording.
Also, Tanner, you're coming out as though you tossed your phone down the well again. You need to go retrieve it.
Just lower
I got it.
Lower the bucket. You got it? Good.
I think so. Like, I don't know what that is.
We had a few more topics.
Like I used to do live streams walking alongside the freeway with my phone, but today I'm on my computer and I'm in my room and it's quiet in here. So like I don't know why I'm having problems.
What were you saying, Iso?
We had a few more topics that we were gonna go over. Into the New Hampshire Democrats email leak.
Oh yeah, this one is absolutely hilarious. Why don't you introduce it?
Okay, so apparently, the Democrat Party has touched over anarchists on social media because they keep getting hit with the taxation is theft meme.
So what's been going
So-
on is, mind if I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what's been going on is that in New Hampshire, like their Democrat leadership, their Democrat legislature, and just Democrat government has just been on a spending spree. In order to pay for their big government spending, they're increasing taxes. Yay! So what's been going on is that a bunch of people online, both libertarians and caps, and even I'm sure there were some actual Republicans roped into this, have just been posting around like the taxation is theft memes, making some, saying it among themselves, and it's driving the Democrats crazy. It's freaking hilarious. Just at the effect that them being exposed to their own immorality can have on just some people.
They don't like being held to the same standards as everyone else.
Well, I mean, I mentioned before on a stream how legally cops aren't people. I'm wondering if the same can be applied to politicians.
Yeah, government workers and well, basically people in government can't be sued or anything.
Yeah,
Uh.
Tanner, have you heard this before?
No.
Alright.
It sounds like for legal reasons you're not encouraging people to kill politicians.
I am,
But
no, just it's not. This isn't. There's no asterisk here. I don't encourage anyone to kill anyone, ever, even for justified reasons. But in terms, I'm talking about how the government legally does not consider cops to be people. My explanation.
man, I didn't know the state could be that based.
So the way it works is that people can be held to account for reasons of right and wrong because we are capable of acting based on what is right and what is wrong. It's the reason that you don't sue a boulder because it rolls over your house, but you can sue the guy who pushed the boulder down the hill.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
And we have all these stories like constant of cops who do absolutely horrific things. They're caught on video. They are dead to rights. They did something that is absolutely completely not only unethical but absolutely illegal. And like 99% of the time, actual number by the way, they go off scot-free. So the only explanation I can think of for this bizarre phenomenon, besides the obvious fact that cops are government employees and asking the government to sue the government makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but the only other explanation is that cops aren't people. They cannot act based on what is right and wrong. They are no better than mindless automatons.
Does that
According
mean
to
the
the
state
state-
views them as tools?
That is what the state, that is the only rationality the state can have for cops being allowed to literally commit murder in broad daylight on camera and get a slap on the wrist at most.
Well, I mean, it's not even just cops. If you or I did what Hillary Clinton did with the fucking emails, we would be under the prison right now.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
government employees are not considered people according to the government. That's just a really, I mean, I suppose that's just a really edgy way of putting it, but it's true. According to any system of law, I mean, the law assumes that you're a moral agent, assumes that you're capable of right and wrong, regardless of whether or not the legal system in question is justified. So if the legal system in question or the legal process in question doesn't apply to you, then that's essentially the only attempt you could make to justify that argument is that it's the legal system or the legal process in question doesn't consider you to be a human. Considers you to be something other than a moral agent.
Which is basically just an inanimate object.
For those of you who are interested in seeing associated cases where this was applied, there's Warren versus District of Columbia, Town of Castle Rock versus Gonzales, Shawnee versus Winnebago County, and Lozito versus New York City.
Most recently, the Parkland case ruling happened, and I mean this conclusion's really edgy when you take its logical to its logical conclusion, and you compare that to what's going on in Europe right now with Africa, with the African migrants.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this as a justification for killing cops. I would never say that. It's just an observation.
Oh, it's essentially the opposite of how the legal system treats animals. I mean, you could legally speaking, you could throw a dog over a freeway and you probably get a ticket if it happens to obstruct traffic at worst. If you so much as look at a cop the wrong way, you're gonna spend like the next 3 months in jail.
In that case, cops would have to be an endangered species, since I'm sure you're all
Cops.
familiar with how the cops treat people who cause harm to an endangered species.
I was actually raised by my very conservative father to always treat cops with respect, or like they'll beat your ass. And later on in life, I always wondered, why do I have to be nice to cops? Like, why is it that if you're not nice to cops, they're going to beat your ass? Why are they?
Because they're animals.
Why? They're the only people in the world that can get away with beating you up because you said some mean things to them. Try that shit at a bar and see what happens.
It's not
You're
just
gonna go to jail.
people which are not only able to do that and not have any consequences, but are directly incentivized to do so by the legal system. If they beat somebody up, if they kill somebody, then what will happen is they'll get overtime pay because of the report that they have to write and the process that they have to go through. I mean, it's more than paid vacation; they get overtime.
Which, if you aren't aware, overtime pay, basically your pay for the duration of overtime increases by 150%.
On top of that, that's how the state collects revenue. Is cops going out writing tickets and doing shit like this, trying to get people arrested.
Pretty much.
I mean, there are plenty. Like Larkin Rose did a video on this where he was somebody who was driving an Uber. There was a cop which was like driving around through the fucking parking lots, following this guy with their lights off, for him to do something that the cop could pull him over and write him a ticket for. And this is especially bad in towns with like incredibly small industry, like rural towns. Because I'm talking about the speed trap towns where
Oh, those are fucking awful. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I actually happen to live in one of those towns. I am freaking terrified.
Those are very common in Middle Texas.
Which is where I am.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I haven't had an encounter yet, but I am just waiting. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to be driving 31 on a 30, and they're going to be like, ah. Fortunately, defeating a traffic ticket is really easy.
I think the worst one.
They're like that. The reason why they are so hypersensitive in those areas, it's not because, oh, it's the deep racist South and the cops are just assholes. No, it's fucking because their governments basically don't get any revenue from industry down there, and so they're hypersensitive to every little law because they're trying to collect as much revenue as they can to sustain themselves.
Yeah, that's my thinking. And these people just... You ever look at these guides for like how to handle yourself during a police encounter? They read
Yeah.
exactly like the kind of guides that you would get at a national park for how to survive a grizzly bear encounter. The whole
Put your
point.
hands on the steering wheel. Don't move a muscle.
Okay, but yeah, back to the email story and right before we leave because we've been going on for well over an hour now. But something that I noticed is they're really like determined to try and say that these are Republicans taxation is theft and making taxation is theft memes, which that struck me as bizarre at first because I initially wrote it off as being stuck in the partyarchy mentality, but then I remembered, well, wait a minute, these are politicians, so that they know full well that that's bullshit.
Well, what the
Then
you were talking
then
about
I
this
made
before.
startling realization, which is that the taxation is theft meme. It's gotten big enough to the point where they can't contain it anymore. And this is exactly how they handle actual dissent. Opposition movements, not the fucking Tucker Carlson, I'm basically just Bernie Sanders, but a Fox News contributor. Not that kind of controlled opposition nonsense like the actual movements that scare them. What they do is they'll attempt to essentially, like, it's a tactic that's been referred to as controlling the dissent. Shows is it's gotten to the point where they can't ignore it anymore. And watch, within the next couple months or so, you're probably going to start seeing the media talking a lot more, not just the media, but Republican politicians a lot more. They're going to start using the term taxation as theft, and they're going to start trying to redefine it. So it doesn't literally mean taxation is theft anymore. It's going to come to mean raising taxes. Well, taxes are so high right now that raising them any higher would be theft. That's what they're doing.
It sounds also like they're trying to pigeonhole people who are critical of taxation in general into the box of, oh, they're just Republicans.
This is fucking...
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. To me, it sounds like they're trying to keep people. If you say the term anarcho-capitalist, then people who don't know what that is are going to look into it.
Yeah, but that's a part of it. But no, this is what they've done to, like, for example, the Occupy Wall Street movement used to be a socialist social justice movement. It was actually a libertarian movement protesting corporatism and trying to it was a specifically anti-corporatist movement. It didn't have any political allegiances outside of skepticism towards state and business mergers. Yeah, then that's exactly what they did. That got huge, so they started fucking planting social justice activists, and it turned into basically a Marxist shit show. And that's exactly what happened to the Tea Party movement. Like, most people think of the Tea Party movement as a movement to get people to vote Republican. Well, do you want to know why it's called the Tea Party movement?
Taxed enough already, party?
It has nothing to do with taxes or even supporting any political parties or politicians. The reason it's called the Tea Party movement is it was initially a protest movement which was created in response to the deliberate suppression of information collected by the government during the 9/11 Commission report. It's called the Tea Party movement because that's how the movement kicked off. They printed a giant copy of the 9/11 Commission report and dumped it in the Boston Harbor in November of 2006.
Man, that's freaking awesome. I can't believe I didn't know that.
It wasn't even a political movement at first. It was a protest movement to the government suppression of 9/11 truths.
Which I can just say it right now. Saudi Arabia did 9/11.
Yeah, well, my point is that, and yeah, any media coverage you get of the Tea Party movement, 9/11 is not even mentioned. It's just it's mentioned as like a group that wants lower taxes and anarchy, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I love
fucking
that. I love that Family Guy episode that was just like the Tea Party are anarchists, even though, yeah. But anyways, we should definitely wrap this up. So
yeah, that's keep. All I'll say is, yeah, be very wary of Republicans starting to use the phrase "taxation is theft" and how it's going to be presented in the media now, because this is exactly what's happening. Gosh, within a month or so, you're going to start seeing CNN or MSNBC casually mentioning the term, "Oh, you see these Republicans out there talking about how taxation is theft," and then you're going to start seeing like Sean Hannity say, "Well, it's theft at the rate we're being taxed right now." That's
No,
what
that
they're
sounds like someone Tucker Carlson would say. Actually,
doing. That's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to control the dissent like they've done pretty much any other time an actual opposition movement sprouted up, which was actually inconvenient to the state.
yeah. So
Not
anyways,
what
sorry, we gotta wrap this up.
happens. That's not what happened. Like, a lot of people think, oh, the media, whenever they don't like something, they call it racist. No, that's not what fucking happens when they actually like are terrified of something, and they know it too. Because every time they do that, every time they censor something, every time they fucking buy into the bait, supposedly, it ends up getting more popular. They do that to give people the impression that that's what they're actually opposed to. It's a simulacrum there, and they're also doing it to get people to underestimate their knowledge of memes and social media. But anyway, I suppose that's all for today's stream.
Yep.
Oh, before we go, can I read off what Douglas Terabyte said?
Sure.
DLive is specifically a research honeypot, which I suspect is being run by Facebook, Google, Twitch, and is possibly government-backed. Research honeypots are run to gather information about the motives and tactics of the Black Hat community targeting different networks. These honeypots do not add direct value to a specific organization. Instead, they are used to research the threats that organizations face and to learn how to better protect against those threats. Research honeypots are complex to deploy and maintain, capture extensive information, and are used primarily by research, military, or government organizations. By hosting your stream on DLive, you have shown all of these third parties your cards.
What the fuck you're talking about? Shown them our cards. What the fuck
like, does that mean
doing?
they're fucking listening? Like, what?
Well, we already know they're listening.
Yeah, it's one stream. We've gotten our streams on YouTube tapped into multiple different times, as I've been able to demonstrate.
No, guys, we've shown them that we want to use a watermelon and fried chicken to bait all of the niggers into Africa.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Now we can't do it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I know
like,
what
okay,
I think I know what he's
doubt
trying to say. I think I know what Douglas is trying to say, and that is that, well, this is not a safe platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. This is probably just like candid.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, sort of what the vibes that I'm getting here. And yeah, this one stream's not going to give them anything.
Skeptics are
Just
trying to
not,
start shit
not
like this.
concerned.
Whenever I sign up for things, I never use my real name. I even actually, as part of the thing for getting AdSense set up, they have to mail a letter to your house to your physical address. And I was able to get my letter, and according to Google, my name is Filthy Heretic. They actually printed that on the envelope. It was hilarious.
That's cool.
Mentioned you were talking about FNet on the stream. I mean, to be fair, said is that I was involved in the development project for FNet. That's all I said.
Yeah.
So tell them anything. That just says, oh, well, if they are listening, it's, oh, this guy's involved in developing something called FNet. They don't know what FNet is.
And I have my VPN on it basically all the time, so they can't get
If
anything like my IP address.
And I don't have a life, so there's nothing to steal.
If you recorded the stream, though, then yeah, you probably could just upload the stream to YouTube and delete DLive as a sort of preventative measure.
Well, we
Fair, I
tried.
guess.
Well, we tried. No, my name is Charles Zerschmied. That was just what Faithless Berserker was asking.
And I gotta be completely honest, I didn't even look at the website for DLive. So that's probably my bad. I'll take credit for that one.
How were you referred to it?
I think Esso mentioned it, that PewDiePie was moving to
I
this
found it,
website.
Yeah, I saw that PewDiePie was streaming on it, and somebody mentioned that it was a distributed platform.
Yeah, well,
Probably,
anyways,
if I clicked on it and it would have asked me to, it would have asked me to log in, and I would have saw it's connected with YouTube. I would have known right there something was up.
alright, well, anyways, we gotta go now. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
All right, respond.